Hello, everyone. Welcome to Isle of Nihilism. I will be your host this evening, as your regular lovely host is snowshoeing. So she is on a little bit of vacation. Hi, Rena. We miss you. So tonight we have a very special guest. We always have very special guests. We're always honored. So tonight we have Rob. Hello.
Hey, everybody.
How are you?
I can't complain. It's been a long day considering last night I was on Jig's Kingdom from about 10 or 11 o'clock at night all the way until 4:30 in the morning. He went 36 hours long.
I heard he did 36 hours. That is amazing. I don't even understand how you guys can do that. That's crazy.
Not very well, and not with any kind of sanity towards the end.
I mean, I could barely get through half hour. I don't know how you guys do these big old long marathons. It's crazy. Well, we would like to say hello to everyone in the chat. We've got Unruly Simeon. Hello. Hi, Aaliyah. Hello. Hack. Hello. Poor Mike. So good to see you. Thank you always for everyone joining us. It's always an honor and a privilege to have our guests and our viewers. Hey, Caroline. Hey, Drew.
Lady Fantastic.
Whoop, whoop. So I have to ask, did you do anything to prepare for tonight, or were you like, nah, whatever, I'm just going to wing it?
Oh, I feel like I'm in a deposition. Usually one of the first questions is, please state your name for the record. Hi, everybody. My name's Rob Wurst. I host a little show called Not Near Mint with Caroline, who is Lady Fantastic right here in the chat room. Along with Comics on the Mind, who I don't know if he's in the chat room. If he's not already, he probably will be, because I've been seeing him earlier tonight. Otherwise, yeah, I've written a couple things out because I know that you're going to be asking me some things about where I've been in my life to get to the point that I am today.
Yes, indeed. And you specifically requested that we do the topic of nihilism, which I had to Google because I had no idea what that even meant. So I quickly educated myself on this so I could ask you intelligent-ish questions. So the first question I'd like to ask you is, how did you discover it, and what made you adopt it as your way of life? Like, how do you view it? What do you think it is? And why did it become your philosophy?
Well, overall, through the course of my life, I started like any normal person back in high school reading Friedrich Nietzsche, and that's just very childlike. Anybody can just say, nothing matters, life doesn't mean anything. It's not until you really take the grand scheme of time. Like, one of the things that I know for a fact is one day today will have been 20 years ago, 40 years ago. How often can we go, wow, I just heard a news story that said that Nirvana, that Kurt Cobain, has been 25 or 30 years ago, he was shot. And you go, wow, I know exactly where I was back then. But you know what? Time kept moving on. His daughter, Frances Bean Cobain, she's living a life very normal as anybody else because time keeps moving on. There's more and more children. Children beget children who beget children. And eventually one day, the life that we might have had, as important as we create importance, will have just been a forgotten thing. Or perhaps it'll have been hundreds of thousands of years since the last person on earth has spoken our name. So, be the change that you want to see in the world, because you can't change the world as one person, but at least you can trim tap it a little bit. So if you want change, first you have to change yourself. That's what I've been doing bit by bit to get to where I am today.
So do you honestly believe that one person can't change the world, though?
I think that you can do it for a small bit of time, but as long as people keep churning out children, it doesn't matter if half of the Earth's population gets decimated. Look what's going on right now. Go right back to World War II. As long as you still had people having children, eventually, however many people die or changes of life happen to one person, it's just that one person, one society. Eventually, there's another generation and another and another. And soon there's hundreds of generations that have come beforehand, to the point that whatever tragedy, travesties, loves, joys, pains is just a bit of time that happened once in your life that eventually gets forgotten, which I'm okay with. It's okay knowing that I'm a bit insignificant in the large general scheme of the universe. It means that I'm freer to make mistakes. I use mistakes as a euphemism for a learning experience.
Well, I mean, and that's basically what life is. Yeah. I mean, we learn as we go. That's definitely true. Yeah, absolutely. Um, so do you think that you will hang on to nihilism? Or do you think as you get older and you experience more things, your views might change, your philosophies might change?
Well, with life, I mean, no matter what, life, there's going to be change. There's going to be change that is inevitable. But something that you can do for yourself is self discovery. Personal growth is a decision. Change will just happen regardless. So, yes, I imagine that I will change my views constantly. It's like when I'm observing some attorneys, I used to think of people in a suit as those that are above you. Now I look at people in a suit as essentially puppets. I look at people in suits as those that advocate for other people that are richer, that are paying them to tell others what they want to be told. So I wear a suit generally in everyday life, only so that I can make observations and kind of, for the most part, get paid for doing so.
So what would you say your dream job would be? I mean, if you don't want to wear a suit. I mean, for example, you have your show and you've been putting so much heart and effort into your show. Do you, let's say, perfect world for Rob. What is the perfect future and world for Rob? What would happen there?
Perfect world for Rob. I would love to have a comic shop, but I know rule number one for opening a comic shop: don't. Otherwise, I would like to be a historian, but at the same time, they don't really get paid very well. I'd like to be able to get paid enough to enjoy whatever I do. Thing is, I never know what that is. I could be a writer. I could be a filmmaker. I could be any number of things. I've been studying how to do filmography. I have a very expensive, nice Panasonic camera with a mixer. I wind up doing things with all these different cameras so that I can do a comic book YouTube show. Because for me, one of my greatest passions, as you can see behind me, is comic books. Doesn't matter if it's superhero or horror or comedy or romance or sci-fi. I just love the history behind it because it shows people that are outsiders that wind up trying to be better than themselves, where they know that they came from possibly nothing. Like my last name is actually Worst, Worst. I wind up, whenever I meet anybody, doesn't matter who they are. Hi, my name's Rob Worst. Oh, can you spell that for me? Sure, Worst. It's okay to laugh. Everyone else does. I use that kind of as an indicator, kind of as a way to learn how someone's going to conduct themselves long before they ever start speaking to me. Because if they say, yeah, that is funny, I know they're going to be contentious. I know they're going to be abrasive, and they're probably going to argue against one another a lot, especially in court. If someone kind of goes, no, it's okay, it's an okay name, I know that they're empathetic, and they'll usually give me a lot easier of a time, because oftentimes I meet so many people in the course of a day that I remember people by the level of pain in the ass in which they give me rather than anything else. If they're very nice and I don't see them for 6-8 weeks and then maybe 2-4 months later, hey, do you remember me? Not at all.
Well, you see a lot of people. I mean, you travel around a lot for your job.
Yes,
do you think that your job has jaded you to a degree? I mean, you see a lot of pretty ugly stuff in what you do. Would you say that that's contributed to your philosophy a bit?
Oh, yeah. When I'm seeing also people in a suit, I know that they're basically just children that just want something and they're being a dick in order to get it. So, one of the first things that I ever saw being a court reporter was this elderly attorney, probably in his 80s. And if you want a raise as a lawyer, you have to go before a judge. So, during one of these fee hearings, you'll have the judge ask a forensic forensic accountant. So does this person deserve getting a raise? So this elderly man is advocating for the one side, which is the insurance company. And then there were these two women. One was the forensic accountant, who is an attorney, and the other one was the attorney for the homeowner. So the forensic accountant starts speaking, and this old man starts stomping his foot, going, "Why is she talking, Your Honor? She should shut up. You shut up. Shut her up." And here's me on like day 3 court reporting going, "Is this normal?" And I was told by the judicial assistant, the JA, "Yeah, we just call this Tuesday."
Jeez. Wow.
That was my education on people in suits. And later on, because I used to work in fashion for a good period of time, I started understanding the way that people dressed. So if I saw a bow tie on somebody, I would know that they are the smartest person in the room. Think Columbo. Somebody wants to be undermined.
I love Columbo.
Child. So you see the bow tie, and I go, that guy is really smart. And someone's going to go, he's wearing a little bow tie. He's a little kid. It's like, no, you shouldn't think that way, because the second that you do, this guy is going to come at you like Rocky. So if you see somebody in a $5,000, $10,000 Brioni suit that's all nice and shiny, you're going to go, wow, that looks like a very high-class, expensive attorney. It's like, well, yeah, if he was in New York City. Why is he in Miami wearing that kind of a suit?
Yeah, but see, I would never even know. I am a fashion ding dong. I mean, come on, I'm wearing Batman. I mean, I wouldn't know that. So, I mean, the subtleties that go on with all that would be completely beyond somebody like me. I mean, you being in the fashion world, that makes a lot of sense, and you understand that. And it makes a lot of sense why you always look so sharp. You always look so good.
Oh, look at me. I'm looking like a kid today because I don't care. This is me.
Yeah, but see, I dress like that every day. So because I am actually a 5-year-old child, but
and that's why we love you.
Well, thank you. We love you too. So if you get out of court reporting, which I know you'd love to, and I want to kind of actually go back to an earlier statement that you made. Rule number 1, don't start a comic book shop. Why? I mean, if that's your passion, why wouldn't you?
So there's so many reasons, not even to mention the fact that with this whole coronavirus, everything is on shaky table where no one knows what will happen next. Say if none of that was happening anyway, you have a variant market that is so driven that if somebody winds up not coming in to pick up their weekly order, you could be stuck with a high bill. And it doesn't matter how much you love all these things, you don't know how much to order of any given title at any time. And if they don't sell, it's just extra back order stuff. It's just extra crap that fills in a box. And if you're not getting paid for this stuff, how much, like any of us, how long can you go without a paycheck before you have to give up the store and then sell the whole thing for pennies on the dollar? So you know all this going into it. You know that it's almost a profit loss unless you wind up being able to get people to come in, sell you expensive books for pennies on the dollar so that you could turn around and sell them for fair market value. It's not an easy thing to be a comic book store owner in America or anywhere in the world today.
Well, I mean, entrepreneurship in general is a risky endeavor. I mean, I would much rather do something that I love, like comic books, with a low profit margin than something that I hate, like, I don't know, being a garbage man. I mean, I'm just pulling that out of the air. If there's any garbage men in the audience, I'm sorry. But it's not something that I would be passionate about. So I would rather do something I love and have a lower profit margin. So, but that's just
although I'm sure a garbage man will tell you it stinks.
No pun intended. Well, we're going to try something new tonight because obviously my co-host is co-hosting, so he's not doing Fire Facts tonight. So we are trying something a little new, and we had Rena do Fire Facts before she left. So hopefully my tech manager can figure this out and we can load it up and
Since I can't be hosting tonight, I am doing Fire Facts. So, Fact number 1. Nihilism became widespread when Ivan Turgenev actually wrote his novel Fathers and Sons, but the term was actually created by Friedrich H. Jacobi. Fact number 2. There are 4 types of nihilism. There is metaphysical, neological, partial, and moral. And fact number 3. Rob Morris was actually my first live show. His show, Not Near Mint. And Rob, thank you so much for giving me my start on that show. He now runs the show with Lady Fantastic, Miracle Man, and newest member, Comics on the Mind. Thank you guys for watching. I gotta go back to trekking through the mountains.
That was great.
Good job. It took us forever to figure that out. Oh my gosh. Yes. Like it took 2 hours for my tech people to sit here and be like, how can we make this work? So good job. Good job to my tech guys. And Rena, good job. You're perfectly awesome. Very nice. Very nice. So let's see. Let's talk about your show. And I know it's been evolving a great deal. Every week you have new additions and really cool features. Your co-hosts are amazing. Why don't you talk to us a little bit about that and where you see it going and what you are hoping to do with it?
All right. So when I first started doing this, it was mostly because I made lots and lots of mistakes when I started becoming more of a collector instead of a reader. So as I was watching these internet videos, these YouTube videos, these stars, these people like Comic Tom and Reggie Collects, and then I started seeing some of the smaller YouTubers that are now today, like the ones that have over 1,000 views or 1,000 followers, people like Rod the Weekend and Javi and Collects and Matt, Boy Who Had 7. I was watching these people right at the very onset. But then I saw Lady Fantastic, and Lady Fantastic had this great buoyant personality. She was able to find these dollar boxes and quarter bins, and it was like without Key Collector app, she was picking out some of these gems, some of them that she could turn around and do these auctions and sell it for 4, 5, 10, 20 times as much as she pulled it out for a damn quarter. And I thought it was brilliant. I'm like, oh man, I would love to have a group of people together because I'm watching things like Lords of the Long Box. I'm watching these other shows when back then there wasn't a StreamYard, there was just OBS, and I was trying to figure out how to do this. And it took over 180 tries of figuring out this microphone and these different cameras. And I'm screaming at my comic book collection until finally it worked. So I do my first episode where I edit it all together, and that's before my copy of After Effects just crapped itself out. And I made that little first video and went, okay, well, there's my first one. Now what am I going to do for a second one? And a third one? Well, maybe I should interview people and start bringing people together. And that's when I got the idea, sitting in my car, waiting for a case at the Miami courthouse. Maybe I should just start asking people, what's the worst they're going to say? No. So the first person I asked was, hey, Life with Two YouTubers. I noticed that your daughter's has a book coming out. I thought maybe we should get some people together. And that's when you thought of this great idea. Hey, Lady Fantastic, you brought her name up, and I know who she is. Like, yeah, I figured. So then let's all get together and let's do just a big interview session. And it was fun. And then it was Lady Fantastic and myself. And I knew this guy from Twitter. I won't say his real name because he's we'll just call him a Nazi hunter. Hunter. For people that really like to attack the different types of people that aren't all white in communities. He's fighting against that just real nastiness online. So I went, dude, you're a great knowledge for comic books and you fight against these real nasty people. How would you like to be a part of the show? He's like, I'll give it a shot. And he just set up a camera to just a whole bunch of comics behind him. And it's worked. And he has this golden voice.
Oh, that voice. Oh, so good.
And
Yeah.
he knows all this great stuff about obscure independent comic books, whereas I'm mostly the main two, the Marvel, the DC, a lot of the newer independent stuff. But his stuff goes back to the 70s, the 60s. Charlton, Lady Fantastic is all about those obscure, not even independent, but well, some of those too. The superheroes. She has a great wealth of knowledge. And then Comics on the Mind. He's West Coast, so we have on our show a scientist in Lady Fantastic. We have a government employee in Miracle Man. We have a court reporter, basically the Watcher from the Fantastic Four, as the main host. And now we have a teacher from the West Coast, Comics on the Mind, Kirk. Love Kirk. This guy has such a buoyant personality, and I discovered him through Instagram, and he was making comments on other YouTube pages, because how I get to know most of these people is through the chat. And that's what excites me so much about the comic community, because we really support one another. We're not here to tear each other down. And those people that are there to do that, you tend to gravitate away from them. But yeah, in time, I like being part of the community. I like having these dialogues. In real life, I don't know many people that I can talk to about this stuff. Because yes, to me, nothing matters in the grand scheme of the universe. And sure, I might get forgotten. So at least while I'm here, I have this little thing that it can't rain all the time, no matter how bad things get. So rule number one, don't die.
I was going to ask you what your number one rule was if you didn't whip it out. Yeah.
And rule number one is don't die. Rule number two is we're going to be here for a while. Get comfortable.
Yeah, very much so. So how long have you been a part of this community, would you say? And what would you say has been your most rewarding part of it outside of your show? Talk to me a little bit about the community and your experience there.
Well, some of the rewarding things that came from it is I'm not somebody that wants to look for validation from other people, but it was kind of funny within the first couple of episodes of doing this Not Near Mint show on my YouTube channel when I'm out at Phil's comic book shop and I hear, Rob? I turn around and I see, the hat, Hialeah. I'm like,
oh,
dude,
how
I know
cool.
this guy. Where do I know him from?
That's awesome.
How do I know him? It's like, don't you recognize me? I'm like, shit, did I go to school with him? I'm Hialeah. So I just go, yeah, I don't know.
Oh my gosh.
But that's when I went like, oh, you're the YouTuber. I don't think about this, that when we see each other in real life, that's what really makes us part of the community.
Yeah.
So we do exist outside of this little square box that you're all watching us in. And we have real lives that are complicated and not always easy. And sometimes there's some fun portions, but you never know what's going on in someone's life until you meet them for the real. And then it just really grounds you. It makes you really value the people that are out there that we can reach out to if we don't know something. Because one of the things that I love saying in my show, at least once an episode or every other episode, is a quote from Bill Nye. No matter who you wind up running into in the world, doesn't matter who they are, janitor or somebody that graduated from Harvard, everybody you come into contact with knows something that you don't. So you'll learn a lot more by keeping your mouth shut than by keeping it open for the flies to come in. I've been talking a lot, haven't I?
No, you're awesome. The thing about this community that I have found is because we're all kind of like-minded, not necessarily with comic books per se, but just in essence, really kind people. All different ages, all different walks of life, different locations. It doesn't matter. We all have a similar mindset that I think has kind of brought us together and clicked us together. Like you mentioned earlier, it's just a very supportive community. So I find personally that I talk to more of you than I do to real life people, which is kind of weird. Do you
and
find that?
To us, you, Sharon, Life with Two YouTubers, you are known as the guardian angel on our shoulders. You are the chimney right up here to go, hey, maybe you shouldn't post that.
I'm just the nutty chick that sends all you guys memes every day. But I have a lot of fun with it. I have a lot of fun talking to all of you guys every day. It's been wonderful to get to know each of you, and you've all been very welcoming, considering that we're not comic book people. So it's really an honor to be a part. Well, I mean, I have one short box. I have one short box, yes, of wonderful AOKs that I've gotten from people. So yeah. I mean, we love superheroes. So I guess maybe by default. So on the topic of the coronavirus, and I know it's foremost on kind of everybody's mind, and you did kind of bring it up earlier. How do you feel about that, and how do you see things? And I mean, are you going to self-quarantine, or what are you going to do?
Look around me. Do I have a problem self-quarantining? No, I have plenty of stuff to read, plenty of stuff to eat, despite the fact much of it will be peanut butter and jelly and some ramen and some applesauce and crackers and the stuff that people should have been going to the store to purchase instead of mountains of toilet paper. You are not going to crap yourself where a week's worth of dookie is going to be coming out of you in like one sitting. You're not going to need that much toilet paper. Get food, stuff that you're going to need when you're actually sick. And eat toilet paper.
I know. It's crazy. It's crazy. When we went to the store to do like regular grocery shopping, I was buying like apples and squash and meat and like normal things that people buy. And I mean, people were getting into fights. And I mean, Rena could tell you, she works for a grocery store, and just, oh my gosh, the stories that she comes home with, you're just like, what? I mean, people kicking over displays and throwing temper tantrums and tasers and just...
So overseas, and this should really hit home for all the people that were really hitting home for the president. Newt Gingrich himself is in Italy right now saying, you guys don't know how bad it is. It is a nightmare over here. Oh. And as I was telling people on my show, when we went live last Wednesday, that was the 1 hour, the 9 o'clock hour. That was the hour that changed this country. That was when the president came out and gave one of the worst televised speeches like in history, where the stock market tanked 2,000 points the next day. Tom Hanks and Rita Wilson wound up coming out to say, we got it. Like, why did you have to choose the most beloved person in the country for this to happen to? And then the NBA canceled their season. This was all within the hour before we went live that day. So right now in Italy, you have Newt Gingrich saying how bad it is. People on Thursday, 300 people died in one day. So yeah, now that this country is basically shutting down for all intents and purposes as of Monday, stay in your homes. Pretty sure that just like Italy and some of these places for first responders and people that need emergency stuff, pretty sure that supermarkets will still be open. Gas stations will still be open. They will get replenished. But yeah, a lot of these goods that are made in other countries like China, I was telling people on the show, if you were going to be ordering up on stuff, first of all, stop buying old comic books right now, because you don't know if you're going to have a job next week. Right now, I'm unemployed because I'm not getting jobs until the courts open again. So if you needed stuff, order bags and boards, because this stuff isn't getting manufactured, as nobody is going to work. So that's kind of where I'm at right now. I don't think that it will be such a huge downturn of the country that some people are saying, but yeah, there's going to be some changes and we'll have to be prepared for them.
Well, Caroline has bought a goat, a candle, a copper pot, and some arrowheads, so she is set. Caroline, I'm making my way to you. We're going to be okay. I know this sounds really mean, but I do think that it's kind of a blessing that Tom Hanks has gotten it, because he's been a calming force. Mm-hmm. He said, yeah, we've got it. Yeah, we're quarantined, but we're going to be okay. And I think that's something that everybody needs to remember. I mean, yeah, there's a lot of fear, but you need to stay calm. Definitely just stay calm. 56,000 people died of the common cold last year. So put that into perspective with the coronavirus. I think.
But if
Yeah.
70% of the people in the United States get it, and given the approximate rate of death, that would be about 233,000 people dead. So what the UK is planning right now by saying herd immunization, make it kind of like back when we were kids, and if your brother or sister got chicken pox, get into bed with Susie. It's like, wait,
I remember that.
Chicken pox?
I remember that.
Your plan over there. It's like,
Yeah.
that is the most insane plan I've ever heard. And then earlier today, I hear that the Miami Beach police union is talking about, for first responders, giving them the coronavirus so that way they can heal from it faster, so they can tend to people later. Okay, I'm not a scientist. Defer to Lady Fantastic, who will then say defer to the CDC.
Well, I mean, Caroline, she's fighting the fight. She's our superhero. She's our community superhero. Caroline, you're so awesome. Well, before we go, because we are at the 30-minute mark, I was hoping you'd give us a quick tour of your comic cave.
Why not? Well, let me get behind the camera and take it off. Just not in that way. I'm
like, wait, what are we taking off, Rob? What? Come on, this is a kid show.
So I'm going to take this camera off, and let's just go around the room. I can't exactly see what you're seeing here, but let's start with... So I have this signed by Noelle Neal from Superman. Margot Kidder, back when I knew her a few years ago when she came out for SuperCon.
You met her?
Yeah, I hung out with her a few times.
Is she super cool? She seems like she'd be super cool.
She's very super cool.
Oh, right on. That's awesome.
Batman stuff, some of my Independence, my Crisis on Infinite Earths that I toured the country to get signed by Alex Ross and George Perez. These are my DC books down here, right behind the couch. So you got the DC, you got my nice little wall here, and whatever's behind my chair at any given minute. And I do change this up pretty radically from time to time. So there's those books. And then there's the Marvel section.
How many comics would you say you have right now?
What's 300 times 68?
A lot.
Yeah.
Close to 2,000?
This room.
That's pretty awesome.
This is scary.
Nah, it's something you should be proud of. You worked hard on it and put a lot of love and soul into it. I don't think it's scary. I think it's cool.
It took 2 years to put all of this stuff together, because when I first started seeing Comic Tom and how he was putting stuff at the ends of all the boxes, I'm like, all right, I'm going to emulate everything that I like, so that if I'm going to be creating a YouTube channel, I'm going to make stuff that I would want to watch, because if I don't want to watch it, why would I bother making it?
Well, there you go.
That's 2 years filing everything in alphabetical order, separating it from DC and Marvel and the Independents, decorating it. 2 years. It took 2 years to do all that, and then about another month and a half to figure out all this equipment stuff.
Rena did the math. 20,400, is that right? You have 20,000 comics.
That's fair enough.
Wow. That's impressive.
Oh, don't get me wrong. This is definitely hoarding. I just have cooler stuff.
Well, if you run out of toilet paper, well, I won't go there.
Yeah, lots of toilet paper. If all this stuff winds up becoming worthless in the coming weeks, because I've already seen that Delta Airlines, Norwegian, they've laid off half of their staff. I know that some jobs are not going to be there for people to return to.
True enough.
So you could see the comic book industry collapsing if they do some screwed up things, like, say, next week, all non-essential business shuts down.
Could be mine. Yeah,
which is very likely. That's what's happened in Italy. That's what's happening right now in France and Spain. And there's really two types of people in this world: those who can extrapolate from incomplete data. And that's about right. Oh yeah, then you have the people that's actually in control that can't do it at all.
True enough. True enough. Well, if we all stick together and we watch each other's backs, we're going to be just fine.
Come together right now.
We would like to thank you very much for being on this evening. It was an honor and a privilege to have you on our show, so thank you very much.
Oh, the honor's all mine. Thank you so much for having me, Sharon.
We had fun and we learned a lot, and dang, you've got an awesome collection. That is pretty sweet.
Yes.
So, in the words of Rena, we will see you all
Later. The end.
Yeah, except you have to actually hit the button.
The end.
Tech